Hello, this is the Captain Pack, so bringing you week 11 of the weekly hunt. Sorry for the delay. Had a LAN party on Tuesday night, and well, you know you're gonna have a good time, but also gonna be pretty dead the next day when you go to a LAN party. And fun as it was, I was pretty dead on Wednesday. I pretty much had to spend the whole of Wednesday kind of recovering because I didn't get enough sleep, and I also had a very crooked neck, so that gave me a bit of a headache in a very literal sense. So my neck is just very tense, and when it gets too tense, that can give you a really nasty headache. So I had to rest, and then I thought for some reason it would be a good idea to have some chocolate, which made me pretty ill. So yeah, just spent the entirety of Wednesday feeling sorry for myself, and I didn't want to miss out on a week, so that's why this installment is a day late. So sorry about that. Things happened. But this was the week of the bowgun, and actually next week is going to be the week of the charge blade. If you want to have a say in what weapon I use after the charge blade, I'm going to leave some comments down below, and you can just upvote whichever one you want. And I'll use that one week after next. But yeah, next week is going to be week of the charge blade. Actually, sorry. Next 2 weeks are going to be week of the charge blade, because since this episode is a day late, I figured I'm not going to really be able to do the charge blade justice in just a few days that I have until Wednesday. So I figured when I was going to pick the next weapon, or the wheel decide, kind of RNG thing decides what weapon I'll pick next. I was thinking, well, if it's a weapon that I've used a lot on the channel, like a longsword or a sword and shield or a switch axe, then sure, yeah, you guys have seen me use those weapons quite a lot. I'll use them until next Wednesday. But if it's a weapon I haven't used a lot, like say the gun lance or the charge blade as it was, then I'll use it for an additional week just to be able to spend a little bit more time with it, get a little bit more usage out of that weapon before I move on to something else. Because if I just do like from today or tomorrow, whenever I start using the charge blade, until Wednesday, that's gonna be no time at all. That's not gonna be like enough time for me to really get a good feel for the weapon, you know. So yeah, next 2 weeks are going to be week of the charge blade, but then after that I'll be looking at what you guys picked, and I'll use that, or I'll just go to the RNG again, whichever one. It is what it is. So the bowgun, the light bowgun, I should say, a lot more mobility than the heavy bowgun. And also, I can't remember what the differences were. I saw a really great video by someone, I can't remember who it is, I'll put the link in the description, where he compared the light bowgun and the heavy bowgun and just sort of weighed the pros and the cons with each weapon. And I think the light bowgun has like more elemental and more status ammo, whereas the heavy bowgun is more like normal slicing, spread, like sticky and slicing and stuff, and then it gets access to like cluster and wyvern, whereas light does not. However, the light, being light and small and nimble and agile and all that sort of good stuff, you can move a heck of a lot faster, and it has a heck of a fast sheath time. It's not quite sword and shield levels, I don't think, but it is still pretty darn fast for a weapon that is this powerful and gives you the ability to fight at a range. It's pretty good. Like, my goodness, is it good? And I have used the bowguns a little bit in the past, and I did enjoy them, but I've never really committed to them. So this was a really interesting and really enjoyable week because, holy camole, is the light bowgun good? The one thing that I have to mention, though, because it's the thing that turned me off from using the light bowgun, and I think it's the thing that turns a lot of people off from using the bowguns, is the ammo. Like, whenever you look at the bowguns in the smithy and you open up the ammo menu, you just get this huge wall of text of all of the different ammo types that every single bowgun can use, how much capacity each bowgun can have for each of the ammo types, like what their magazine size is, what their reload speed is, what their recoil is, and you just think, oh my god, which one's good, which one's bad, how do I know, how do I tell, you know? And also there's the, oh my god, there's all this ammo that I have to craft and replenish and keep stocked up. Oh my god, that's such a pain in the ass. How do you do it? You know? And the answer to that one is you just pick up all of the plants. You go into an expedition, you figure out which plants you need just to get all of the ammo types, and you just collect all of them, make all of the ammo type, keep some of the plants in your stock to be able to craft in the field, because that's a neat little trick that I figured out. And just do that over and over and over and over. You know, you'll rack up a lot of ammo very quickly, and if you ever run out, you've got the botanist, botanical research, I should say, to just fill that out with some ammo and stuff. Or you can buy it. You know, you have options. So it's in general, the ammo is not too bad to keep up with. It's more the figuring out, okay, which ammo do I definitely want to use and which ammos do I definitely maybe want to avoid. And that depends on the bowgun, and it can be very hard to tell when just looking at the wall of text which bowgun is specialized in what. You know, the bowgun that I'm using now, I believe, is called Taroth Blitz Piercer. And that has access to slicing ammo, sticky ammo 1, normal level 1, normal level 2, pierce 1 through 3, spread 1, paralysis 1, poison 2, thunder, and I think something else, but I can't quite remember. There's a couple of ammo types that every single bowgun has in common. That is normal ammo 1 and trank ammo. Because yes, you can use tranquilizer ammo instead of using trank bombs. The advantage of doing that is that it empties up a slot in your inventory, which allows you to carry like crafting materials for other ammo types, or just allow you to pick up more random shit in the environment, right? On top of that, depending on the bowgun, it can actually be faster to use the trank bomb or trank ammo, and it's not like it particularly matters, because you know, you can trank it before you put the trap down, and then you put the trap down and then captured. Boom. Easy, right? The one thing that you have to look out for with bowguns is the recoil and reload. There are certain ammo types that are incredibly powerful, such as slicing and sticky. And, oh, this bowgun has dragon. That was the one that I forgot. But yeah, like slicing and sticky, those are the two most powerful ammo types. So you can expect really high recoil and really high, or really long reload speeds. You know? But if you can find ones with moderate, and then you can decrease that with mods to the point where it's like recoil plus 2, or like just a regular slow or even like medium reload speed, you are good to go, which is what the Taroth Blitz can do. You know, one recoil mod, one reload mod, and you've got like recoil plus 2 on the sticky, recoil plus 3, no, recoil plus 2 on both sticky and slicing, and then you've got like a regular reload for the slicing, and then a slow... One of the things is that like, one of the things is not so good. It's either recoil or reload on the sticky. Let's just have a look. I'll probably pull out sticky in a minute. And we can see just which one it is and which one I'm bullshitting about, because I can't remember and I'm trying to sound fancy. I do apologize for that. But then it's also like looking at the ammo capacity and seeing, oh, which ammo capacity? Here we go. Yeah, it's recoil +3. There you go. But the reload is normal, I think, or like medium with it. I'll reload it in a second. There we go, yeah. I'm still learning the bowguns. It's an interesting weapon. Most of the skill with the bowgun, I find, or it's not really skill, but most of the learning of the bowgun is literally all down to the menus. After that, it's pretty tame in terms of the learning curve, because all you do is you apply sticky to the forehead, because that can deal stun damage, you apply slicing to the tail, because it deals slash damage, and then you just blast them with whatever you think works, and you just eventually figure out what works and what doesn't work, or what parts of the monster and what sort of angles and whatnot, and you just sort of get a general feel for what ammo you should and should not be using. But it's the looking at the menu to figure out what bowguns do what, you know? And one of the cool things about bowguns is that depending on the ammo type, you can actually have like it's called auto reload, and it's symbolized by a blue arrow. I think it's a downward arrow. And what happens there is your ammo type essentially becomes bolt action. So you only get one shot in the chamber, but you get a super fast reload. It's basically like a regular normal reload, and that gets its own kind of reload tiers as well. So like a fast auto reload is insanely quick. And you might think, oh, only one ammo in the capacity, that's kind of shitty because you're constantly having to reload. But if your reload is that fast, then it's not really a hindrance. You can keep blatting at the monster without really having to slow down. Whereas if you have a clip size, but a super slow reload, then once you go through that clip, you have to wait to take the super long reload animation. So you're having to take a break. Whereas with an auto reload, you're kind of still going. Sure, it's a slower rate to fire, but I find that just the motion of the auto reload kind of more than makes up for it. The other like special fire mode, which is incredibly powerful, once again for more powerful ammo types, is the rapid fire, and that's symbolized by the three orange triangles, arrows pointing upwards, I believe. And what that does is it fires a burst of 3 shots, but it only consumes 1 ammo when it does that. So if you're using, say, like rapid fire on a spread ammo, and your capacity is only like 3, once you fire it once, it will go down to 2. And then you fire it again, it goes down to 1, fire it again, then you reload. Watch this, by the way. So we put the monster to sleep, and Bo Dude thought it was a good idea to Dragon Piercer Kulf Taroth. It's like, come on now. And then he gets kicked. It's like, come on. Oh, I know you want to shoot the golden fleeced Jagras. The Jagras in drag. But when it's asleep, you can deal a shit ton of damage. I've ragged on this in the past, and I'm going to rag again on it in the future. But when you put a monster to sleep, you can do a tremendous amount of damage with barrel bombs and the Wyvern Blast that the light bowgun has, and you can deal some serious damage whilst it's asleep. And you can set up, you can sharpen, craft some ammo, apply some buffs, get yourself comfortable, and then re-engage the fight. So you're disengaging a fight to kind of re-prepare for the fight, and then you're re-engaging it with a shit ton of damage. So what Bogai just did with the Dragon Piercer was essentially like tickling the monster with a feather, you know? Like, sure, well, maybe not a feather, but it was the equivalent of like kicking it. It's like, sure, it did some damage, but it didn't do the most damage, you know? And on top of that, we didn't really have time to kind of prep and rebuff or resharpen if need be or anything like that. It's just bam, straight back into the fight, get in there. It's like, come on. And it's so frustrating when people do that, especially when your set is a sleep bombing set, because your whole strategy is revolving around putting the monster to sleep, and then all of a sudden this one person just comes along and thinks that it's a good idea to immediately wake the monster up with their most powerful move, which might not necessarily be the most powerful move in the team, right? So that kind of breaks half of the sleep bombing set. It breaks the bombing part. Sure, you can still put it to sleep, but it's like, it's so frustrating. So please, just a little hunting service announcement. If you see someone sleeping a monster and they're in chat, they're like, whoa, 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 stop, like that guy was doing, or they mention that they're sleeping the monster, prepare for it, you know? Even if you don't have any barrel bombs, I'm sure you could do like some crafting to craft some more mega potions or something like that. You could use a life powder to heal everyone up, or just something. Even if you just sit around and prance about, like you're letting everyone else set up. So even if you don't need to set up, other people might, and it's just polite to be considerate for them. I mean, we still got it, but it was frustrating because that could have been done a little bit easier, and Bogai wouldn't have been kicked. It's like, would I have kicked that guy? I don't know. Probably not. But Red did. Red kicked the Bogai because he was mad. That was the second time that he did that as well. The second time that we tried that, tried to sleep Kulve Taroth, and someone woken up. Well, actually, the first time I woke her up with paralysis ammo. So as she was falling asleep, I paralyzed her by accident. And I said sorry in chat. Like, that's the thing. If you ever make a mistake, just say sorry in chat. Because otherwise people are going to be like, man, what a douche. But if you say sorry in chat, then it's like, okay, well, they realize that they done goofed. You know, they realize they done goofed, and hopefully that won't happen again. All's good. But if you just sort of like, yeah, so what? Let's fight this monster. It's sort of like, come on. Anyway. Enough rambling about Kulve Taroth. What about the light bowguns? Well, the mobility, as previously stated, is really good. I wasn't too big of a fan of the dash, like the little side hop that you get with the bowgun, because I felt like there was a big delay between like firing and then doing the little side hop. And that is true, but that's dependent on the recoil of your ammo type. If you have recoil +1, then you're going to be able to side hop a heck of a lot faster. And that's just another advantage of having super low recoil. But even then, like the little side hop, it's useful, but it's not that useful. I've managed to use it to dodge like a fireball from a Rathalos before. That was pretty badass. But aside from that, I've honestly just waited for the recoil to die down, un-ADS, like let go of the left trigger, and then manually roll. Because that sidestep has gotten me hurt more times than it's helped. And sure, I am just bad with the light bowgun, but I just feel like you're in a lot safer hands if you just disengage from the ADS, or the fine aim, whatever you want to call it, the aiming mode, and then just do a manual roll. You know? Granted, that does lock you out of being able to do the cool slide. You know, you do the little side stop, and then if you hit the dodge again, you do like this badass slide, which I haven't tested if you can fire whilst doing that, but it'd be pretty cool if you can. I don't think you can, but it'd be pretty cool if you can. That is a very powerful mobility tool. Not really the best evade, again, like the side stop, but it really allows you to close the distance or get into a really good position as I do a side stop. Side stop? Sidestep backwards. A backstep! It's like we're playing Dark Souls over here. But now we're fighting Tailstrike. I did a lot of this quest, Code Red. Actually, that's what most of the footage for this week is going to be. It's just Code Red because I wanted that armor. And I didn't really feel like doing anything else. And I've been kind of slowing down on Monster Hunter. I need to be careful so as to not burn myself out. Because that's what's happened with Warframe. And it's really not good. Like, because this game is such an amazing game that I want to be playing it a lot, but if I play it too much, then at some point I'm going to go, nah, I just want to play something else, and then I'm never going to come back to it. So you just got to savor that taste. I've said it before, Monster Hunter is a slow burn game. You're not meant to speed through it at the speed of sound. You're meant to take your time with it. You're meant to slow down. You're meant to, you know, take your time with it. So I think I need to heed my own wisdom and slow down a bit more, maybe like take a few more breaks in between my monster hunting sessions, as opposed to just going all out in one go. And maybe I'll come back with it with a fresh coat of paint. Although it has to be said, I've been playing a lot more Monster Hunter Generations than I have World. Not saying that not saying that Generations is better or that World is bad or anything like that, but I am just enjoying kind of progressing through the progression from scratch. You know, instead of having to grind the same monster over and over for certain parts, I can progress from like one quest to the next and just sort of hop through that. So hopefully there'll be some more monsters soon, or a new monster soon, or maybe a new zone, or something, you know. But it's all good, because we've still got plenty of stuff to do. I've still got plenty of stuff to do. I've still got, like, crown farming to do. I've still got a bunch of materials. I gotta get my Charge Blade farm on, because at the moment, I think the only fully upgraded Charge Blades I have are Kulve Taroth Charge Blades. And that was actually the interesting part about the light bowgun, is that the only fully upgraded light bowgun I had was the Taroth Blitz Pierce, which I guess is a Pierce ammo focused light bowgun, and sure, the Pierce ammo is pretty good, but I mean, I found a lot of use out of the just the slicing and sticky, mostly because of the relatively low recoil and relatively low reload speed. And that's not to say that's all I used. I mean, sometimes it was, sure, but I definitely also used the Pierce and Spread when I could, because they were, I mean, they're pretty powerful, especially the Pierce level 3. As Tailstrike gets double flashed. Oh my god. I don't really have confidence in sheathing my bowgun all that quickly. I mean, as much as it is a fast sheath, the last time that I tried to sheath my bowgun and flash Tailstrike, I got blasted in the face because I didn't flash him fast enough. Ugh, it's frustrating, but it happens, you know. It happens. Karting happens. Death happens. This is Monster Hunter. It's one of those sorts of games, you know. Oh god, teammates are dying all over the place. Get your life powder out. Oh well, one of them's dead. Well, there's the life powder. A little bit late on that, but you know. Better luck next time. God damn it. Ah, dear. That's another cool thing that the bowguns can do, is that they have recover ammo, which granted aren't super powerful, and maybe a life powder might be a bit easier to do, as I proceed to waste dragon ammo. It's like, it helps. You know, much like life powder, it's not insanely powerful, but it seriously helps. And in a situation like this, where people are kind of getting bounced around by an Elder Dragon, it can be really, really useful. You know, to be a successful bow gunner, I feel like you don't have to focus on only doing stupid amounts of damage to a monster. You know, you can do that, but you also have the opportunity to maybe apply some... As you see, my flash pod is just way too late there. I think it's because he roared first. But you don't have to just focus on like the slicing and the sticky. You know, you can apply status effects to the monster, or you can apply like recover ammo to your teammates and stuff. You know, it does kind of annoy me when I see people purely focusing on like raw damage, and that's it. Like, let's just do damage, 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 damage. And it's like, yeah, sure, if you kill the monster incredibly quickly, then he can't kill you back, right? Sure, I understand that, but what about the times when you can't do that? Or what about if you just want to try something else? Or what about if your teammates are perhaps not the best? Now, I'm not saying that my teammates in any scenario are necessarily bad, but I'm saying that if you bring a setup that relies on killing the monster really quickly, then if the monster sticks around too long, then, and your teammates aren't quite as on the same level as you are, then you're going to end up failing the quest. Whereas if you bring a support set, then sure, the fight might be prolonged a bit more than if you focus on an offense set, but your team is also going to survive a heck of a lot longer, and in fact, you might actually outlive the monster, you know? Because much with the same logic that if the monster's dead, it can't kill you, you too cannot kill the monster if you yourself are dead, right? So it's not all about damage, it's also about survivability. And whilst you can guarantee your own survivability by your skill, you cannot guarantee the survivability of your teammates unless you bring a supporting set. Like, I'm starting to decide, right, I need to actually focus on recover ammo. Where's my recover ammo? Right, here it is. Stand still. Nope, stand still. There you go. Have some healing. And another teammate is stunned. He gets roared out of it. Have some health. Another teammate gets blasted again. He's stunned. Recover. Stun him out of it with some ammo. Regular ammo. And there you go. Just stuff like that, you know? It doesn't have to be insane. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, give your team like invulnerability and hunting horn style, where like you give everyone stupid amounts of damage and defense and health recovery and all that sort of stuff. You can just give them a little bit of support with even just a life powder or a demon powder or a hard shell powder or a wide range set, you know? Or, in some cases, a bowgun, or maybe just trap the monster with a shock trap or a pitfall trap. Granted, that doesn't work against something like Teostra, you know, Elder Dragon, and granted that pitfall traps don't really work too well against Devil Joe. It slows monsters down and allows your team to recover, and if they're not going to heal themselves, then you need to be able to bring some way to heal them yourself. Because like I said, whilst you can guarantee the safety of yourself through your own skill, you cannot guarantee the safety of your teammates. Unless you're running a support set, you know? Your skill alone is not going to keep everyone alive if you don't support them, you know? And Monster Hunter, for the most part, whilst you can play solo, and you're watching me play solo against an Anjanath, because I felt like this quest was fairly simple, I could do it by myself. You know, this game is a co-op game. And if you're playing every situation like it's a solo, then maybe you should just stick in solo. Now, I'm not saying that to be insulting or diminutive or whatever. I'm saying that as in, like, not everyone is as pro as you, so you might find a heck of a lot of frustration in playing with people who are not quite on the same level as you and end up triple carting, you know? But if, on the other hand, if you don't want that to happen, and you don't want to reserve yourself to solo, then maybe pick up a support set, you know? I mean, it's not like relegating yourself to a support set makes it so you can't do any damage. You know, you might still be the most damaging player on the team, and that's how it seems to be for bowguns, you know, because you have the option for stuff like slicing ammo, sticky ammo, dragon ammo, elemental ammo. You can do insane damage, but you can also status the monster, like paralyze it or sleep it to give your teammates a moment of respite, a moment to recover, and also recover ammo to actually heal your teammates in the action, in the midst of things, whilst they're maybe not able to heal themselves, or they're like stunned, or they're pinned, or something like that. You can just heal them without having to resort to a life powder, and maybe you could save that life powder for later. And again, with the hunting horns, again, it's not just a support weapon. You're not just relegated to heals and buffs, but no damage. You can do significant amount of damage. That self-improvement buff gives you 15% damage increase. That is, every single hunting horn is a flat 15% damage increase from what it was before. Couple that with the attack up large or extra large once you encore it with some of the hunting horns, that's an additional 20%. So that's already 35% increase in your damage. On top of that, you have all sorts of buffs that can help the team in stuff like defense, health recovery, earplugs, tremor resist, elemental resist, affinity boost, all sorts of crazy stuff, you know? So, once again, I feel like the bowguns are a little bit underlooked. Not so much because they're considered support weapons like the hunting horn is, or rather I don't consider the bowgun to be a boring weapon, as the hunting horn is sometimes considered to be. I consider the hunting horn to be not necessarily the most interesting weapon in the game, because it simply isn't that flashy in its moveset. The problem with the bowgun that people just don't want to pick up is the ammo. They're not sure what ammo they should be focusing on which bowgun. They're not sure what sort of mods they should go for to complement that bowgun really well, and they kind of just don't want to touch the gathering of materials and stuff like that. And what I'd say to that is, just give it a go. Like, seriously, gather a bunch of materials for the bowguns, like the ammo types. Just hold it in your inventory, and at some point, give the bowguns a solid chance like I did. Pick them up and main it for a solid week. Just pick one bowgun, any bowgun, could be any of them. They're all perfectly viable. This is Monster Hunter after all. All weapons are perfectly viable, but there are some that are just more powerful than others. And you'll learn which weapons are more powerful than others in time, just like you learn which like Charge Blade is better than all the others in time. It's just that with bowguns, it's a lot more down to personal preference than just this one does the most damage, right? So like I said, just pick it up for a week, give it a go. You never know, you might absolutely love them like I did. I love the bowgun. This is one of my favourite weapons now. Honest to God. I didn't use it all that often. All that much, sorry. Like I said, I haven't really played a lot of Monster Hunter this week. But the bit that I did play with the bowgun, it was so good. It is such a powerful weapon while still retaining mobility. And you can do shit like this. Well, maybe not this instant, but thanks to the range of the light bowgun and any ranged weapon, On top of the fact that the light bowgun has a lot of mobility, and this light bowgun in particular has super low recoil, I can actually just simply walk out of range of a lot of Odogaron's attacks. I don't have to evade them. In fact, the next clip that you'll watch, the only time I ever evaded was to close the distance between me and him whilst he was stunned so I could put down some Wyvern Blast. Apart from that, it was a no-dodge fight, and I took 0 damage because I could just outspace all of his attacks, and it really kind of lends itself well to that know your enemy kind of playstyle. Granted, there are some monsters that you're going to have a harder time with, especially dodging their attacks whilst not evading. Like, I don't recommend trying to do that against Rathalos because he's super fast, especially in the air. And granted, I'm saying granted a lot this week. I've been watching a lot of Martyr's Brigade recently. You'll have to forgive me. He says granted a lot. But even though you can hit Rathalos out of the air because you know you're using a ranged weapon, it is actually potentially better to just flash pod him out of the sky, ground him, and then start blasting him, because it severely restricts his mobility. It stops him from just being an absolute nuisance, you know. But that doesn't mean that you can't leave him in the air and kind of blast him with your bowgun. But this is the clip that I was talking about, where, look at me, I'm not dodging. I'm not pressing the X button to evade. I will later to try and close the gap, like I said, once he's fallen over and I want to put a Wyvern Blast in his face. But I'm not having to evade because there's a mixture of just the mobility and the range that the light bowgun offers, but also the fact that Odogaron is actually a really pleasant fight in terms of his hitboxes. They're really generous. His moves aren't wide sweeping, they're not super wide arcing, they're not ridiculously like aggressive. I mean, he is an aggressive monster and he does move around a lot, but if you know what his moves are and you can predict them, you can't get touched by him. Which is just, it's great because it's a fast moving fight, but you can also read your opponent. I think it was a Mark Brown video that I saw on AI where someone at Bungie, I believe, said that good AI is not unpredictable. Good AI is predictable, but has somewhat random elements to it. And I think that's true. Like, Odogaron is really predictable. Like, every time he does a certain motion, you know what the hitbox is going to be, you know how to move out of the way, but you're not too sure what he's going to do afterwards. But because he has the wind-up, you can kind of tell, and then you can predict. So, I don't know. Odogaron's just an awesome fight, and I need to fight him some more. But yeah, Charge Blade next week. There we go with the evading. Close the gap, which I could have unsheathed for it, but I was a bit of a lazy bastard. I'm not a fan of Charge Blade. If you've watched a number of my weekly hunts, you probably know that by now. I tried it maybe 4 weeks ago. I tried it for about half of the video, which is about an hour of play, and I really did not like it. There was a part of me that was like, this is a really good weapon and I can see why people like it, but there was another part of me that was just sort of like, I cannot stand this weapon. And I know why. It's because I was focusing way too much on guard pointing and the ultra or the super amped elemental discharge. But it's like, that's what the Charge Blade is, unfortunately. It's the nature of the beast. So next week, and, well, the week after, I'll be using Charge Blade, and hopefully I'll like it more than I currently do. Hopefully I'll get used to it. Hopefully I will get to the point where I'll be like, yeah, I love the Charge Blade. The Charge Blade's fucking awesome. It's like the best weapon in the game. You don't use the Charge Blade? Well, no, I won't be like that, because everybody uses the Charge Blade. I mean, there's been a couple people in this video alone that have been using the Charge Blade. I think like 3 people? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's been about 3 people in this video alone that have been using the Charge Blade. It's a very popular weapon. Although that being said, I feel like the bowguns are rather popular weapons, but not so much in the early to mid game. I feel like more late game, more experienced players kind of pick them up later as they've got the materials, they've got the fauna and whatnot to be able to make the expensive ammo. But they're also a bit more willing to experiment maybe, and maybe take recommendations from other people, just try it out and go, ooh, this is really good actually. Whereas maybe newer players are a bit more like, I just want to stick with what's comfortable, because that, I mean, not knocking that is just monster hunting, you know. It can be hard to get into, so sticking with a weapon that you're comfortable with is perfectly valid when you're fighting monsters that you're not familiar with. I mean, if I'm ever uncomfortable, I always go back to the lance or the switch axe, you know, because they're the weapons that I'm most comfortable with. But anyway, that has been week 11 of the weekly hunt. Here's my new guild card with the badass DMC pose right there, and Meowth like jump kicking Devil Joe in the face right there. But anyway, I'll leave you with the rest of my guild card, and like I said, next week I'll be using Charge Blade. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.